Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be working with the Concord and 9th Lucky stamp set as well as the coordinating die set. So there I'm just giving you a quick look at what's included in those. So let's jump in here to card number 1. I'm working on a panel trimmed from MFT's whipped cream cardstock. I'm going to stamp out that Lucky sentiment using American Crafts pigment ink in the color Cherry. I'm going to use one of those coordinating phrases to go along with this. So I've grabbed some MFT black licorice cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and hit that with my powder tool here, and then I'm going to stamp out the phrase "to have you" using some Versamark ink. And then I'll go ahead and heat emboss that using my Simon Says Stamp fine detail white embossing powder. Gone ahead and hit that with my heat tool and then trimmed it down to about a ½ inch wide. Lining this up here, and then I'm going to trim off that edge there at an angle. I've also gone ahead off camera and I've used the Lucky die, which is the thinnest that's included in the set, and I've trimmed that out using some Paper Tray Ink mint julep cardstock. I've gone ahead and layered 3 of those together so I have a nice thick sentiment. I'm going to add a little bit of art glitter glue behind that, and then I'll place that right on top of that red Lucky that I stamped earlier. I'm just going to use my pokey tool there to clean up any of the glue from when I shifted things around. Next, I'm going to add some Scotch foam tape behind that sentiment. Because I have 3 of those Luckies stacked together, that does give it quite a bit of depth. So 1 layer of this foam tape was pretty much perfect to make everything even. I'm going to peel that back, add a little bit of art glitter glue in the center there, and then I'll go ahead and place that down on my panel. And then I'll trim off that excess there. Finally, I'll add some ATG to the back of that, and I'm going to place that down on my card base, which is also made from the Paper Tray Ink mint julep cardstock. For the inside, I'm using a panel again of that MFT whipped cream cardstock. I'm going to stamp "In the World." I have actually taken 2 of the sentiments and done a little bit of stamp surgery to make that work together. The "in" is slightly smaller, but I don't think it's too noticeable. And I'm stamping that out using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Again, I'll add some ATG to the back of that and then go ahead and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 1. So here for card number 2, I'm going to be using both of the dies. Wanted to give you a quick look at how those cut out. This larger one gives you that shadow background as well as a thin border to go around that. And then the smaller one, of course, gives you the Lucky sentiment that fits perfectly on top of that shadow. I've gone ahead and trimmed out the shadow using Paper Tray Ink New Leaf cardstock, and then the inside script is from MFT's Dill Pickle. Gone ahead and added some art glitter glue to the back of that. I'm going to place it on top of the shadow portion here. I am just using 1 layer of that for this sentiment. Next, I'm going to grab a card base made from MFT's whipped cream cardstock, and I'm going to place that sentiment right across the bottom. I've grabbed the I'm additional sentiment, and I'm going to stamp that here directly on the front of the card base using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then while I had everything out, I'm going to finish off the inside with the rest of the sentiment that reads, "We're friends." I've also gone ahead and trimmed out that heart die 3 times from both of the same color cardstocks. So I've got an outline as well as an inside for all of them. For the inside, I'm going to use that darker dill pickle again, and then for the border outline, I'm going to use the new leaf. I've gone ahead and taken my scoring tool and just gone straight down the center of those inner hearts. Then I'm going to bend those just to give them a little bit of texture and add a little bit more dimension to my card. So I've lined up those 3 outlines of the hearts there at the top of the card. I'm going to go ahead and glue those down with my art glitter glue. And I'm going to save you from watching the majority of my fiddling around with that here because it was a little bit fiddly. And once I've got all 3 of those down, I'm then going to take those hearts that I folded in half, add a little bit of art glitter glue behind that, and I'll place them right down there in the center. And once I have all 3 of those attached, that will complete card number 2. So since I've been thinking of St. Patrick's Day as I've been putting these lucky cards together, I decided it was time for a rainbow. I have grabbed a bunch of scraps of my colored cardstock and trimmed those down to about a ½ inch wide. I'm using a Nina panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm just going to go ahead and use my ATG gun to line all of these up and create my rainbow. I will go ahead and list all of these colors for you on my blog post, but as usual, they are a mix of paper tray ink and my favorite things. And there you can see I'm just trimming down that panel until I get a size that I like to fit on my card base. I've also grabbed some MFT black licorice cardstock, and I've trimmed out that lucky sentiment 3 times. I'm going to go ahead and layer these together using my art glitter glue. I've taken that rainbow panel and I'm going to pop that up using some Scotch foam tape. And then I'll peel away the backing and place that down on top of my card base. And this card base is again made from MFT's whipped cream cardstock. So of course my rainbow needed a little bit of gold at the end of it, so I've grabbed some sparkly gold washi tape. This is leftover from one of my Spellbinders card kits. I'm just going to add a little stripe of that off to the side here. And then I will go ahead and glue down that lucky sentiment. I lost a little bit of footage there, but you'll see that when I go back later and show you the finished card. For the inside, I'm using a panel again of that MFT whipped cream cardstock, and I'm stamping out the sentiment "To Know You," again using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'll add some ATG to the back of that and place it on the inside of my card base. And then I have some additional hearts that I've trimmed out, and I'm going to use 3 of those to create a little clover. So I've grabbed some of my, this is Post-it tape, and I'm just going to use that to hold the 3 hearts together. And then I'll trim around that. This will just make it a lot easier to glue things down. And then I've got just a little sliver of that same green that I'm going to use as my stem there. So I'll place that down first and then add some glue to the back of those hearts, and then that will complete my shamrock. And that will complete card number 3. For card number 4, I'm going to again go ahead and stamp that shadow for my lucky sentiment. This time I'm using Lawn Fawn's Minty Fresh ink. I really love the look of that cherry and mint together from the first card, so I'm going to continue that here but switch things up a little bit. And then to continue that sentiment, I'm going to add to that I thank my and stars, again using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp that out. And again, while I had everything out, I'm going to finish off the inside and I'm stamping the sentiment for you. I have used MFT's Poppy cardstock and trimmed out that lucky sentiment again 3 times, and I have gone ahead and placed those together. Here I'm going to glue that down right on top of that blue shadow. I've used the star die to cut out a bunch of yellow stars from Paper Tray Ink's Bright Buttercup. I'm arranging those around here, and then I've also added some Studio Cassia crystals. I've arranged those down and I'm just going to glue each of those in place here using my art glitter glue. Then at this point I felt like I still needed a little something more, so I decided I wanted to, instead of having this be on the whipped cream card base, I was going to add this to an After Midnight card base, and I'm just cutting the card apart and then trimming out 2 panels that measure 4 by 5 1/4. Then to finish off that inside panel, I've added 2 more of those yellow stars that I've cut out, and I'm stamping one of the stars, again using that Lawn Fawn Minty Fresh ink. I'll add ATG to the back of both of those panels, and then add those to the front and inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 4. So for card number 5, I'm going to create a shaker window. I have trimmed out a panel that measures 4 by 5 1/4 from that MFT whipped cream cardstock. And then I've used the larger of the 2 lucky dies to trim out that sentiment from the front. Now that I've got that trimmed out, I'm going to use some 1/8 inch score tape. I'm going to go all the way around all 4 edges of that. I'm going to back that opening there with some acetate. There are 2 edges. This is really close on this panel. So you'll see as I pull back the backing, the 2 little sides there where there's a little bit of score tape overlapping, I'm just going to run that back on top of itself. And then I'll place down my acetate and of course trim away the excess. Next, I'm going to take some 1/8 of an inch score tape, and I've gone all the way around all 4 edges of that, and then I'm going to just go around the sentiment itself. So that way, when you're not shaking the card, you will still see the gold sequins in the sentiment there, and they won't fall all the way down to the bottom. So once I've got my sentiment outlined there, I'm going to use my larger pieces of foam tape and just fill in those open areas. Next, I've grabbed some gold sequins. These are those really flat gold sequins. I picked these up at Target a while ago, but they have them almost every season. So I put a nice amount in there. I'm just making sure that it's going to fit within my sentiment area. And then I'll go ahead and hit the back of that acetate with my powder tool just to help the sequins from not sticking to that too much. And then I'll go ahead and peel away my backing. And I'll place that down on top of my card base. And this card base is made from MFT's Dill Pickle cardstock. I trimmed out that inside Lucky Sentiment from a few different colors, so I'm just trying them out here, and then eventually I decided I liked the black version the best. So I'm again using only one layer of this since I have that layer of foam tape behind my shaker window. I'm going to add some art glitter glue behind there, and then I'll place that down inside my sentiment shadow. For the inside, I'm using another panel of that MFT whipped cream cardstock, and I'm going to stamp out the sentiment to have you again using that VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'll add some ATG to the back of that and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 5. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. Remember to leave me a comment below and let me know which was your favorite so you can be entered in the March Madness giveaway. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.